Hello students, how are you? I hope you are doing fine. I am also doing well. My name is Teacher Hilda and I will be taking you through English for Senior 3. So my friend, I want you to get your pens and notebooks ready to study. I want to inform you that this program is brought to you by the Rwanda Education Board in partnership with MasterCard Foundation and Inspire, Educate and Empower Rwanda. As you are aware, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the government of Rwanda has suspended activities that essentially bring many people together and all unnecessary movements to prevent transmission of COVID-19. Schools have also been affected. Today, we are going to study grammar. Our topic is grammar. So I want you to write grammar as the topic of our lesson today. Our subtopic is going to be language structure. So I want you to write language structure and underline the word language structure. Our major focus is going to be on conditional sentences. Our major focus is going to be on conditional sentences. In other words, conditional sentences are called if clauses. They are called if clauses. So I want you to write the word conditional sentences in brackets, if clause, and underline it. You might be wondering what are conditional sentences. I want you to write this definition down and I am going to read it out twice. Conditional sentences are statements that are used to describe the condition and the result of an action. I repeat, conditional sentences are statements that are used to describe the condition and the result of an action. For results to be true, conditions have to be fulfilled and vice versa. In that, for example, for one to join advanced level of education, they must sit for O-level exams. You cannot join advanced level when you have not sat for O-level exams, meaning the condition for you to join A-level is you sitting for O-level exams. Let's look at some examples below. And I want you to do this simple task for me. I want you to draw a table. I want you to draw a table with 2 columns, a table with 2 columns. I hope you understand what columns are. Do you understand what columns are? Now, in the first column, I want you to write condition because in the first column, we are going to look at the condition. And in the second column, I want you to write result. In the second column, I want you to write result because it is in the second column that we are going to look at the results of the condition. Our condition number 1, I'm going to read it out loud. Our condition number 1 is if you get a well-paying job, if you get a well-paying job, what do you do? What would you do if you got a well-paying job? I would buy a car. I would build a house, depending on what you want to do. So the condition here is you get a well-paying job. And the result is you buy a car. If you don't get a well-paying job, you will not buy a car. The condition is if you don't get a well-paying job, meaning you will not buy a car. Unless you get a well-paying job, unless you get a well-paying job, you will not get a car or you will not buy a car. So in the condition column or in our first column, we have our first sentence as if you get a well-paying job, if you get a well-paying job, and the result, or what you are going to write on the result column, is you will buy a car. So the sentence should be in both columns. If you get a well-paying job, you will buy a car. Our next sentence in the condition box is, if you don't get a well-paying job, if you don't get a well-paying job, and the sentence in the result column is, you will not buy a car. You will not buy a car. So I want us to go to the next thing. There are 4 different types of conditional sentences in English. Each type of conditional sentence expresses a different degree of probability that a situation will occur or would have occurred under different circumstances. So I want you to write these types of conditional sentences in your books. Be ready. I'm going to read each type twice. The first one is first conditional sentences. First conditional sentences, in brackets, if one. First conditional sentences can be called if ones. The second one is second conditional sentences. Second conditional sentences, and they are called, in brackets you can write, if two. If two sentences. Our third example of conditional sentences is third conditional sentences. Third conditional sentences. In brackets you can write if three. And the fourth one is zero conditional sentences. In brackets you can put when. We shall look at all these types of conditional sentences in detail during our classes.
Come along and play with us.
Today, however, we are going to focus on 2 types of conditional sentences. Just 2 types of conditional sentences, and they are zero conditional sentences and first conditional sentences. Zero conditional sentences and first conditional sentences. We shall look at the other types of conditional sentences in the other lesson. So I want you in your notebooks to write a subheading, zero conditional sentences. Write zero conditional sentences as the subheading and underline it. You might be wondering, what are zero conditional sentences? Does anyone know what zero conditional sentences are? If you have an idea, you can try to write it down, and then after I'll give you a definition and you try to compare your answers with mine and see if you have the right answer. Have you written something down? I want you to compare what you have written with my answer. Zero conditional sentences express general truth situations in which one thing always causes another. One thing will lead to another. I repeat, zero conditional sentences express general truth situations in which one thing always cause another. One thing will lead to another. I want you to check your answers with mine. If you have the answer right, then thumbs up. If you don't have the right answer, I'm going to request you to write the right answer, and don't give up, because we are all learning. This is a learning experience. So we are going to have some examples of zero conditional sentences. Examples of zero conditional sentences. You can also try to come up with your own examples of zero conditional sentences, because I believe we are all learning. Try to write them down, and I'm also going to read to you some examples of zero conditional sentences. Our first example reads, if you don't brush your teeth, you will get cavities. if you don't brush your teeth, you get cavities. If you don't brush your teeth, you get cavities. Our second one, it's in the morning, the sun rises. It's in the morning, the sun rises. The third example is when people smoke cigarette, their health suffers. When people smoke cigarette, their health suffers. So you have seen that these zero conditional sentences express the truth of a condition, that if you smoke, your health is going to suffer. It is in the morning that the sun rises, not in the evening. You can as well write many examples as you can. But, however, I want you to note this important information down about zero conditional sentences. I'm going to read it out twice, and I want you to write it down. When using zero conditional sentences, the correct tense to use for both clauses is the simple present tense. The correct tense to use for both clauses is the simple present tense. The word if and when can be used interchangeably in these zero conditional sentences. The word if and when can be used interchangeably in these zero conditional sentences, meaning you can either use if or when. Now let us look at first conditional sentences. Write first conditional sentences as your next subheading. I want you to write the definition down, and I'm going to read it to you out twice. However, I want you to first write first conditional sentences as your subheading and underline it. So I'm now going to read out the definition, and I want you to write it down so that when someone asks you what, or when you meet a friend, or when your uncle asks what are first conditional sentences, you are able to tell him or her what these sentences are. First conditional sentences are used to express situations in which the outcome is likely to happen in the future. First conditional sentences are used to express situations in which the outcome is likely to happen in the future. So when we talk about first conditional sentences, we talk about conditions that may happen in the future. However, the result is not guaranteed. We are not sure, or we are not certain that if you are going to do a certain task, you will complete it. But there is the likelihood that when you do something, you will finish it. When you go to school, we expect you to finish your studies. However, it is not guaranteed that you will finish your studies. So in if one, we look at situations that will happen in the future, but whereby the result is not guaranteed.
Come along and play with us.
I'm going to give you some examples of first conditional sentences, but you can also come up with your own examples. I'm going to give you a few seconds to first write down a few examples that you know. Write about things that you know may happen in the future. However, their results are not guaranteed. My first example. If you study medicine, you will become a doctor. If you study medicine, you will become a doctor. So our condition here is you have to study medicine, and the result is you become a doctor. My second example is if Paul retires, he will start a company. He will start a company. So those are my examples. I hope you have also come up with your own examples, which I would love to hear. So I also want you to note this one down about first conditional sentences. I want you to note this down about first conditional sentences. You can write it in your notebooks, which is okay, because it is always good to come and revise what you studied so that you don't forget. We use simple present tense in the if clause. We use simple present tense in the if clause and the simple future tense in the main clause. By the main clause, I mean the clause that expresses the likelihood. For example, the if clause is if you study medicine, that is, if you study medicine. And that is why you see we use the simple present tense. And the main clause is you will become a doctor. You will become a doctor. So where is the simple future tense there? The simple future tense is shown by the word will. You will become a doctor. I hope you've understood what zero conditional sentences are and what first conditional sentences are. I wish you could raise up your hands and tell me what you've understood about those two different types of conditional sentences before we do our exercise. So, we are going to do an exercise. In your notebooks, I want you to write down these instructions. I want you to write down these instructions. And I'll be reading each question twice, and then we shall look at the answers later. Our instructions read, complete the sentences with the verb in the brackets using first conditional. Complete the sentences with the verb in the brackets using first conditional. So that is our instruction. Number one says, if my auntie comes to visit, if my auntie comes to visit, she dash, open brackets, give, close brackets, us a present. I repeat, if my auntie comes to visit, there is a comma there, she dash, open brackets, give us a present. Give us a present. And always remember to punctuate your sentences, because when you don't punctuate your sentences, they will appear wrong. Our second question, I want you to write it down. Be ready. I read, if it doesn't rain, comma, if it doesn't rain, comma, we dash, open brackets, write the word go and close brackets, to the beach. If it doesn't rain, comma, we dash, open brackets, write the word go and close brackets, to the beach. And remember to put a full stop. Our third question is, if it dash, open brackets, write the word snow, snow. If it dash, open brackets, snow, close brackets, tonight, comma, we will make a snowman tomorrow. We will make a snowman tomorrow. Full stop. So I want you to try to come up with answers. I'm going to give you a few seconds so that you can write your answers. Try to be speedy in answering so that we can try to look at the answers. So, welcome back. I hope you have written your answers. And if there is anyone who has not tried to attempt the work, please try to learn, because we are learning. If you don't attempt the exercise, meaning you don't want to learn. And I want you all to learn. So I want you to give me the answers you have written on your first question. What answer have you come up with? If you have will give as your answer, thumbs up. And if you have a different answer, don't give up. Keep trying. We are all learning. So the right answer is will give, and the sentence has to read, if my auntie comes to visit, comma, she will give us a present. She will give us a present. Remember, we said that the main clause in the first conditional sentences uses the simple future tense. The main clause uses the simple future tense, and the if clause uses the present simple tense. Let us look at the answer you have on question 2. The answer you have on question 2. What answers have you come up with? If you have will go as your answer, thumbs up. And if you have a different answer, I'm going to encourage you to keep trying. Keep trying, never give up. So you can write down the right answer for those who have a different answer. And the sentence should read, if it doesn't rain, comma, we will go to the beach. If it doesn't rain, we will go to the beach. And remember to put a full stop. So let us look at question 3. What answers have you come up with? If you have snows as your answer, I want you to clap for yourself. But if you have a different answer, I want you to keep trying, because I have to keep encouraging you. You have to learn, and I was also not like this. I learned these things, so I also want you to learn them. So if you have a different answer, don't give up. I want you to keep trying. The right answer is snows. So the sentence should read, if it snows tonight, comma, we will make a snowman tomorrow. If it snows tonight, comma, we will make a snowman tomorrow. So if you have 3 out of 3, very good. And if you have 2 out of 3, good. If you haven't gotten all the answers right, keep trying. I encourage you to keep trying.
Come along and play with us.
In conclusion, we have learned that first conditional sentences talk about things that are likely to happen. First conditional sentences talk about things that are likely to happen. The if one clause uses the present tense. The if one clause, I don't want you to get confused. The if one clause is same as first conditional sentences. The if one or the first conditional sentences use the present simple tense. Remember, we said it uses the present simple tense, and then the main clause uses the simple future tense. It uses the simple future tense. I hope you have understood and you have picked something from this lesson. In our next lesson, we shall look at the second conditional sentences. Thank you for paying attention and being good learners. I want you to have a great day. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, 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 teacher. Goodbye, children. See you next time.